You're listening to Bizarre Buffet, a podcast of all you can eat weird. I'm your host, Mark Torriello.
I'm Jen Wilson.
And I'm Mark Bluestein.
There'll be food and drink and ghosts, and perhaps even a few murders. You're all invited.
When we first went in, one of the people said, "Who are you?" And Tex said, "I'm the devil, and I'm here to do the devil's business."
Hey everyone, you're listening to episode 2 of Bizarre Buffet, and today's topic is crime scene and death cleanup.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh my God.
We're getting dark up in here.
I love me a good crime scene.
And I mean, like, holy crap, imagine having to do that job.
I can't,
You have to be a special person.
You really do. It is such a specific profession that, like, even like me, someone who can watch like every horror movie, every kind of thing, and I've seen weird shit, but watching those videos, even after a while, makes me feel a certain kind of way. Like, I start getting a little sad, and like it starts from being super interested to just feeling like, oh, this is kind of bumming me out,
Because it's real.
Yeah, it's hard.
I mean, we watch that stuff together all the time. And at first, I'm all into it. And I'm like, oh my God. And then I'm like shocked. And then it just like sets in. And then I'm like, we have to watch Golden Girls or something whimsical.
Yeah, that's what he always says. Something whimsical.
I mean, Jen, what's like the weirdest thing that you ever saw that was like a gross crime scene-ish thing in real life?
I mean, you guys know that I've worked with autistic kids.
Uh-huh.
Like from ages 5 to 20, and probably gross crime scenes include bodily fluids on walls and floors and on their backs.
Yeah.
Their whole body. Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy. So,
I mean, I've never dealt with blood, more like other bodily fluids, which is weird because I can do blood. I can't do my own blood.
Really?
Yes.
It's so odd. I mean, because it's kind of like I hate needles, but like I'm fine with tattoos. Is it that kind of thing?
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
Like doctor needles, like they freak me out, but otherwise I'm okay. Yeah.
The last time I got a needle was like when I went to get a physical and they were like, doing their needle stuff. I don't even remember what they were doing, but the doctor told me to stop being a baby.
They were like, shut up. Oh, you're so annoying.
Yeah. What about you, Mark? What's like the nastiest or weirdest thing that you've ever seen? It could even be if someone like threw up at a bar.
Oh. The nastiest thing? I mean, in person? I mean, I've seen people do a lot of nasty things, but nothing is coming to mind right now that is like, oh my God, I can't believe I witnessed that. I mean, I've witnessed plenty of crap behavior from people, but yeah. What about you?
Oh my. Well, I think this is a good story to share. When I was younger, like my family and I, we lived in a very unsavory neighborhood with a very high crime rate. And Irvington, New Jersey, represent. Hey guys.
Ooh, shout out. Irvington.
So people are like, you grew up there? I'm like, yes, bitch. I did. But one of the times when we were robbed, the crackhead that robbed us, he went in through the window and he cut, I'm assuming, his arms up really bad. And there was blood like all over the house. And when we came in, we actually thought someone broke in and got murdered in the house. And because it took the cops a day to show up, we were looking around the house for a body.
Oh, no. Oh,
but instead of a body, we had things stolen. But it was
Like
pretty.
what? What did you get stolen?
Oh, like like jewelry, probably a TV set, all that. The nice shit that you have in your house.
yes, his collection of exotic underwear from around the world.
I know.
Yes.
I think I was like 8 or 9, so I don't think my underwear was as exotic as it is now.
Oh, gross!
But
I don't want to think about that.
just blood everywhere.
Oh God, blood and underwear everywhere.
I know. Like my mom, God bless her soul, she literally like took the towels that had like blood on it and she put them in Ziploc bags and she gave them to the cop and she was like, "Oh, if you need DNA evidence," and he was like, "Honey, you're watching too many TV shows."
Oh God. Well, actually, I do have something coming to mind. It's not people related, but one time I witnessed, growing up, one of my dogs threw up and the other one ate it. And now that was truly gross, like really gross. I mean, that was some early 2000s weird video gross.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know. Jen has 3 cups and 9 girls, right?
Yeah.
2 dogs, 1 bowl.
Yeah. two dogs, 1 vomit. I don't know.
Wait, was it Romeo and Kasha?
It was.
Oh,
it was Romeo and Kasha.
Let me guess. Kasha threw up and Romeo ate it.
Yep, that's right. Because boys are disgusting.
Aww.
Yeah, I know. But that's true love,
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you agree, Jen?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Let's get back to crime scene cleaning. Now, there's a really interesting channel on YouTube, okay? And the company is called Spauldingdecon. Now, I don't know what necessarily possessed me at the moment, but I think it was always one of those things in the back of my mind that I was like, I want to see some video footage, to see if there's some footage out there. So in doing that, Mark and I stumbled across this channel. It was like, okay, it's like nicely produced and it's really vivid and graphic. So we're in, we're down to clown, as they say, as the kids say. I don't even know what that means. I'm assuming it's
down to clown.
Yeah, down to clown. Not John Wayne Gacy.
But
clown,
I
though.
think when we found this on like YouTube and what have you, what sucked us in was that, you know how they have like the little pictures, it's like a preview of the video you're about to watch.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a brown stain that was human sized. And we were like, oh God, this looks real.
Yeah, it was not a Hollywood stain, it looked like a real legit stain. It wasn't
like oxidized.
Yeah, it was pretty, it was definitely what they call, I mean, what is that? Clickbait, but they delivered,
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, I'm going to click on this. And they did not disappoint, they really didn't. I remember years ago, I saw a truck in front of me, and on the back, how a truck will advertise, we do this, we do that, we do this. It said biohazard, suicide, et cetera, cleanup. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, wow, that makes sense, because this would be something that there would be, a need for professionals that aren't just, your average service that you would call. And rightfully so. So yeah, it's a pretty crazy thing.
I think it's an undying industry. Pun intended. Yeah. No pun intended.
That is a good one. It truly is.
And there's always, people are always dying. It's like the funeral home industry. It's never going to go out of business.
No, it's something that, unfortunately, for better or worse, you can always rely on.
Yeah.
Would you guys ever do it for like a good sum of money? Like, let's just say there was like, I don't know, a house and a whole family got brutally murdered and you had to clean it, right? Would you like be able to do it for like $1,000?
I think it's one of those situations, like I would have to be in it. Like, I don't know. It's one of those things, I don't know it unless I was there doing it.
Mm-hmm.
No, that makes sense. You know, like you can't really. I don't know. I really don't. Like, I don't think it's a matter of like doing it or not. It's more of like, I don't know if I would be physically capable of doing such, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I could probably live in a house where people were murdered, but like after the professionals come in, like, you know, Spaulding Decon and take care of the place, and it's been so long, you know, since. But even that, you know, it's still questionable for me.
Well, it makes you think too, like, okay, so on the show, there's like a lot of times where like someone dies and their bodily fluids like seep through layers and layers through the floor, into the ceiling, into God knows what, into like the substructure of the house. And some people, I'm sure, like if you bleach and you do something topical and you paint over it, to the eye it looks like it's clean, but underneath the walls there could still be tissue, there could still be blood. And I just wonder, like, how many places did something happen where that leftover residue is still there, unbeknownst to whoever is living in that space?
Yeah.
It it has to be really common, I would imagine, right?
I would imagine.
Because I'm curious to know, like, a percentage wise, like, how many instances are there people that like try to do or attempt this on their own? Like, is it a thing that people do? I guess maybe if financially you're not able to call in someone, perhaps, but like, Jen, so when you watch the show, it's like they give you the nitty gritty details. So they show you that this is not just surface view. This is like once they start taking things apart, like depending on where the person passed away or was murdered, if it's the carpet, for instance, they have to rip up that carpet. They have to take out the padding underneath. Goes so like in depth, and these people are equipped and they know how to do the work to even
Yeah.
fix it back up.
Yeah. No.
Mm.
And then meanwhile, like, if I have to, like, I don't know, get leftover pasta out of the drain of the sink, I'm crying about it.
Yeah, I've seen it.
I can't.
Crying.
I don't know how they do it.
Yeah,
You
okay,
guys
I'm
know we
ready.
have a really special guest today, and his name is Kylekunz. And he is someone that we may consider to have an unusual career. Kyle is a crime scene cleaning expert. He is one of the faces of a very popular YouTube channel called Crime Scene Cleaning, which we all
My
know
favorite
is a show that follows its highly trained technicians, of which Kyle is the lead technician in charge of the field crew. And, we witness as they journey through the depth procedures of remedying a home or apartment after a tragic or dangerous event took place.
Oh, it's
He
rough.
Yeah, no.
He plays
And all
no
the cases
games.
that, we see require an expertise of individuals who were professionals in the fields. I mean, not everyone can do it, right?
I would never know where to
Exactly.
begin, what to do.
Yeah.
It
So,
would be
I
like,
would
not
cry.
only
Yeah.
do they take on, like, a huge amount of work that's required to do this, but, like, they're also providing an invaluable service. So they're removing, like, added stress, trauma of family and friends they've been through too much already, you know?
Of course. It's like
exactly.
the last thing you need to think about.
They take this task on themselves. I had no idea how involved and in-depth these procedures were. Because, like, on any episode, right, guys? Like, you see Kyle and, like, the members of his teams, like, they're doing actual construction work. Like, cutting
It's
off,
insane.
parts
Like,
of walls, right? Replacing floors, tiles.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God,
dealing with
yeah.
biohazard. I mean, I'm sure there's laws and a whole process behind dealing with biohazard.
It's definitely not a career that's suited for everyone. But if you'd like to see some of what we're talking about, definitely subscribe to Crime Scene Cleaning on YouTube. Spaulding Decon is the parent company. And as it says in their About section, Spaulding Decon is a premier crime scene cleanup, hoarding cleanup, and meth lab cleanup company in the U.S.
Oh.
So,
my God.
And there's a lot of meth labs.
Oh, especially in America. It is like meth labs and...
But aside from his career as a crime scene guru, he's also authored 3 novels. He's got a 4th novel on his way. The best-selling book is called Secrecy Memoirs from the Silent, in which he recounts his life struggles with child abuse, drug addiction, and so much more. You can find his novel on Amazon, as well as his other novels, Reflections Past and Hidden Revenge. So we're thrilled to have Kyle here today with us, discussing his fascinating line of work and learn more about his incredible literary work that holds so much relevance to so many of us. So welcome, Kylekunz.
Hey, Kyle. Welcome to the show.
We're so excited.
So welcome, Kyle, to our show. It's so fantastic to have you here with us. As you know, we are obsessed with the show, with Crime Scene Cleaning, that's on the Spauldingdecon channel on YouTube. Your line of work, it's very fascinating, and it's something that, I think you need to be a very special type of person to be able to do what you do. So we're going to start with more of the logistics behind the work that you do. So I guess So,
we got this.
Yes, queens.
First, how did you specifically get into this profession?
Oh gosh, you would ask that. It's been kind of a crazy, crazy ride. But so in 2009, I actually got bored with the everyday monotonous lifestyle. And I was just like, I can't do the 9 to 5. I can't do the 8 to 4. I just can't do it anymore. So I started doing some super intense research on a kind of job that I would love to do. And crime scene cleaning popped up. And I was like, well, hot damn. Let me go ahead and just jump on this bandwagon. And so it kind of escalated from there. I took a national class and got certified through OSHA and all the fun stuff. And then
we were gonna ask if you had to get trained, but that definitely makes sense that you have to go through OSHA.
Yes, you definitely have to go through and get OSHA certified and things like that. And then, with as excited as I was, it all went down the drain because I lived in a small town, small city where we had enough business for it, as bad as it sounds, but we didn't have the population to have a company like that in the area. So I went and sold adult novelties, and I wrote 3 books, and I worked at gas stations. I worked in the funeral industry. And about 2 years ago, I ended up moving up to Tampa, and one of the first things I did was search out those companies. I applied at Spaulding and harassed them for probably 3 weeks. Harassed, called them every day. Until they got aggravated enough, called me in, and it's been on like Donkey Kong since.
Wow.
Can you tell us a little bit about the training process and kind of what that entails?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the training process is super simple. Either you make it on a scene or you don't make it on a scene. A lot of people actually think they have the guts to do it. They think they have the mindset to do it. And, and then they get in. We always do hands-on training because, it really makes or breaks the deal. So,
oh yeah, for sure.
A lot of people talk big game and, I can do this 100%. And then turn around, they get on a scene, and then I find them hurtled behind the van, either in the fetal position or vomiting.
Wow.
Well, and I can totally relate to that because my profession where, my daytime job, if you will, I do hair. And, it is obviously not anything similar, but you automatically know, people are like, oh, it's just hair, you know, it's just this, it's just that. But once you actually see them, you're like, oh, well, we'll find out if they can do this job. That's really interesting.
Right. And I mean, it's kind of the same because, I mean, you do hair and I clean up hair. So, I mean, you know, there's similarities.
But normally the hair in your situation is detached.
Yes.
And sometimes a little crunchy.
And like,
oh
and
my
something
God.
that you said earlier, which like I think resonates with a lot of people, and probably a lot of people who are listening, about like tired of the 9-to-5 grind and like finding something that you're passionate about. Because I feel like, I feel like a lot of people, and I hear it from a lot of friends and colleagues about how like it's just like they get tired of doing the same thing over and over again.
Yes, it gets mentally exhausting, it gets physically exhausting, and you know, coming home from my 9 to 5, I was mentally drained. And don't get me wrong, I'm mentally drained every day. I come home working, cleaning up crime scenes, but it's a different type of mental drain. I mean, you know, back when I was working the 9 to 5, it was, I'd come home, I would cook dinner, I would eat dinner, we would take showers, and we would go to bed. We would wake up and do it all over again. Now it's a matter of, I never know what city, what state, what the job is going to be.
Exactly.
I wake up every day, and it is literally, it's literally a brand new start every day.
That's amazing. That's something that is so rare to find in a line of work or a career path, you know.
It really is.
And with what you do, no two situations are going to be the same.
No. Now I have had similar situations, but I have never, in the 2 years that I have been working with Spaulding, I have never ever had two exact same situations.
Well, like, while we're talking about situations, we're going to kind of dive a little bit deeper into the nitty-gritty of what you do. And I would love to know, kind of, with everything you've done, and I'm sure 1 million people ask you this, and now 1,000,003 are going to ask you, but what's been like the most like unusual or difficult situation that you've encountered so far?
I would definitely, so it's more circumstantial at this point. It's the circumstances behind, and with June being Gay Pride Month, and also PTSD Awareness Month, cleaning up suicide, especially veteran suicides, military suicides, or even part of the LGBT community. Those kinds of suicides actually affect me super, super deep. Those are the days that I come home and I actually sit in the bottom of my shower and I just either I cry or I just sit there for 20 minutes and I just try to let the water wash away everything.
Imagine you always get the people who meet you and find out what you do are always kind of like, oh my God, tell me gruesome stuff, or like maybe they're scared or whatever it is. But there are things like, these are people from every kind of community. It's really like, that's a very interesting and impactful statement that means a lot.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing that I really love when watching the show with you, Kyle, is the fact that like you do a very difficult job, but you also have this way about you where you have a great personality and you seem to be very comforting towards everyone involved. And I said to Mark, I was like, good God. I said, if I were to have to clean up a crime scene, I would need Kyle to be there to hold my hand and get me through it.
I think too, like Kyle,
That's funny.
You have this sense of humor. Like you have this way to kind of make light of the situation, like while you're cleaning.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, you really do. You really have to have that kind of sense of humor. I mean, it's gallows humor is something that, you know, is in any kind of macabre industry, whether you be a funeral director or a coroner or a medical examiner. You know, we all have that gallows humor. I just take it to the next level and actually make it a fun environment to work at, because
you have to.
Yeah, ultimately you have to keep that positive mindset, because I honestly 100% feel if I went into every single job, me having PTSD as a person and being diagnosed with it, I feel like I would actually be sucked into that state of mind and probably end up the next victim of one of my techs would end up having to clean up.
God. Well, I mean, and it's the thing where everything needs to have a balance.
Exactly.
Right? And that's what it's about, because doing what you do is no easy job. Like Mark said earlier, you have to be a certain kind of person. There has to be something that gets you through, right? And something that keeps you going and motivating your team that you're working with.
Exactly. They know that in the morning, if Britney Spears is blasting through the truck, that we're going to a decon and it's going to be a funny
day. That's like sounding the alarm.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. That. When they hear it's Britney, bitch, they're on. They already know what's happening.
They're like, oh God.
One of my own personal curiosities, and I'm a retail manager for a fashion brand, so I have like a business like set of mind sometimes, and with the work that you do in crime scene cleaning, I was wondering, like, how is like the pricing situation handled or dealt with? Is it?
It's kind of weird, because everything is most everything is dealt through with like insurance and things like that. It's usually just hidden in there in the insurance policy that it's covered under. But each situation is different, and it just really depends on the type of job that it is, the type of situation, how many people were involved in the actual, say, crime. Mm-hmm. It kind of goes like that.
So it's a case-by-case basis.
Exactly. Wow. Yeah, there's not one of those like square foot or, anything like that. It's literally just a case-by-case. So not only am I away from the monotonous everyday lifestyle, but I'm also away from the monotonous lifestyle of business as well.
Right.
Gotcha.
And that can be the most boring part.
Exactly.
Good for you, man.
Exactly. Really? Yeah, numbers are not my game.
They're with you.
I'm there too. I'd be like, someone else deal with it, please.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm the same way. We own a logistics company, me and my fiance, and I look at him and I'm like, I don't understand this, and he's like, oh no, it's good, I've got this.
Oh God.
Yeah, I'm glad that there's someone that knows what they're doing.
Yes, yeah.
I'm always so fascinated with how in depth the cleanups are. Like, I've seen the episodes where you deal with a mattress, right? Like, and you have to literally like disassemble it, and I'm sure you have a lot of biohazard laws or regulations you have to follow on top of. It's almost like you're doing a lot of construction work.
Yes. So it's deconstruction work. We're literally deconstructing what manufacturers have put together. So the good thing is I can pick out some bomb ass furniture now because I know what's going to hold up. The bad thing is that some of those jobs, like a recliner, man, I will never own a recliner just because I know how it is.
Well, can you tell us, like, what makes a recliner, like, the worst thing to possibly die in?
So, essentially, when you die, you liquefy. I mean, I hope nobody's listening that has, like, a super sensitive stomach, but you do. You liquefy. And, so between the body fat and the blood and all of the other bio, a recliner has every single piece of material known to man. So, its frame is made of wood. It's got the springs. It's got the foam. It's got the cushion. It's got the plush. It's got plastic, and you have to deconstruct and find and track where the biohazard has gone through each and every single crevice.
Oh my God. So when you walk into a room and you see that, you're like, oh God, no.
So when I walk into a room and I see that, normally I'm like, all right, guys, this is your time to shine because I trained you the way I know how to do it. And I'll stand in the background and guide you.
Yes, you'll be cheering them on as they take apart that.
That's when I turn into the
go team
room.
go.
That's when I take over videoing, and I'm like, yeah, you guys can, have fun. May God be with you.
The whole thing about what Mark just said on that topic, because they said, well, one of the things I would want to say or ask Kyle, like, Kyle, eventually, like when I just drop dead from being so gorgeous, like, should I do it so it's easy for the Kyles of the future to clean me?
I actually get that a lot, and it's the best way to do this is actually probably just watch a good couple of episodes of Dexter, and then create that exact room and just wait.
Well, that is like a really.
We're talking a lot of plastic.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of.
Oh, I was about to say, are we talking about like the Dexter the murderer or Dexter the forensic scientist?
Oh no, yeah, the murderer.
The murderer part. Okay.
Yeah.
The TV show, Jen.
I know. Dexter's got two sides to him.
The good news is I make Dexter rooms all the time, not for murder. That sounded bad. Not for murder, but so I mean, I could totally walk you through the steps. It's okay.
That's amazing. Okay, good to know.
Well, so moving on, right? The logistics and murder rooms and what have you.
Murder rooms are my favorite.
You are. Everyone else's too. But you are also like, you're a person and you are a human being. And I know that this definitely takes a toll on you. So from humor, like, what else is a good coping mechanism to help separate work into your personal?
So legally, no, I'm just kidding. So a lot of the time I'm actually out in my yard, working in my yard. I have my fiance who we do a lot of work in our yard. We're remodeling. We had a flood a couple of months ago upstairs in our bathroom, so we're remodeling our house at the moment. My boys, my Yorkies. I have 2 teacup Yorkies, which if you follow me on IG, you'll see them everywhere. So to kind of take away from dealing with the stress of seeing and dealing with what I do for work, I actually spend a lot of the time in my yard or in my kitchen cooking. I'm like the perfect housewife.
You'll have to come by and cook for us because Mark and I live off of microwavable food.
Oh no, no. If I could get away with cooking a 5-course meal daily, and I used to, but I just don't have the energy anymore, honey. That's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle, let me tell you, our microwave is so tired it makes like whale noises as it rotates. It's really
that's actually what it sounds like when I get onto the beach too. I just hear nothing but whale noises.
I'm getting sick of cooking during this, global crisis going on. I'm just sick of the cooking.
It is.
So
so that's kind of, but that's pretty much, my coping mechanism other than my writing and things like that. I mean, that's me as a person.
Well, and that's
plants and food.
And that's the next thing we wanted to get into. So Kylekunz, he's a writer, and you have what, 3 novels and a 4th on?
I do have 3 novels and a 4th one on the way.
Well, tell us everything. Amazing. Tell us about them.
Oh, yeah. Everything. Holy crap. Well, the first one was my worst. The Hidden Revenge was my absolute worst. I hate it with every passion. I can't believe that a nice guy like me would write something so crazy and macabre. It's pretty cool. I mean, it's a weird homo love story, and
I think I'm a writer. I'm a writer as well, and I think we all are just we're our own worst critics when it comes to our writing and our work.
Yes. I mean, this is something that my mom shouldn't have read, and I didn't realize she was going to read, so it was kind of embarrassing.
They're like, Mom, put that down.
Yeah, I'm like, Mom, what are you doing? She's like, I bought it so you could sign it. And I'm like, no.
No.
You're like, be supportive with another book,
yeah,
please.
Yeah. So, Hidden Revenge, I leave that on the back burner. But Secrecy, Memoirs from the Silent is actually my life. That's my entire childhood growing up and, coping with the sexual abuse and mental abuse and physical abuse and drug addiction and and things like that. So, that one hits close to home, just because, I felt a chapter in my life close when I had actually written the last chapter of that book.
That must have been really liberating.
Wow. It was something that I needed to get off of my chest completely, get out of my mind. I struggle daily with it. I was diagnosed with manic depression and severe PTSD. So, I struggle with it every day, but every day is a new day because of the job that I do and because of the people I surround myself with. So it doesn't, if I have a moment, it doesn't stick around very long.
And that's really beautiful, because, we were also talking about how, aside from, all of the kind, obvious markers, what you do is very meaningful and important to you. And I feel like, now this is just my personal opinion, correct me if I'm wrong, but, the work that you do and, helping people is so important to you, and it ties into your life experiences. Like, would you agree with that?
No, that's 100%. I actually do what I do to help those in need, because it helps me cope with my own past. So saving somebody from going through what I've had to deal with in the past, and taking all of that on for myself, whether it be hoarding or a meth lab cleanup or something like that, or having a family member walk in and have to try to clean their own son or mother or father's suicide, that I take that pain from them and then I put it onto myself. And when I take my shower at night, I wash it all down the drain.
That's beautiful. Really.
Yeah.
That really is. And you're definitely a special person, because I think
Absolutely.
a lot of people, they see, like, you go on YouTube, obviously, you pull up the videos, you see all of that, people are naturally curious and dark. It's just part of who we are. But it's so much deeper. For someone like you, this is part of you and
Right.
what's meaningful to you. And I think that's an important message to share with people, and maybe a very motivating thing for people who feel like, oh, well, I'm tired of my job, I'm tired of this, which are all things that we talked about. So, it's an inspirational story.
Yeah, I find it kind of gross, but.
Well, I mean, well, yes, I mean, and
Oh, I was gonna say, if you could tell us about your new memoir coming out, or book. I'm sorry, your new novel.
Yeah, my new novel is actually kind of crazy, because with everything that I deal with for work and everything that I've dealt with in the past, I have actually created a book completely full of nothing but suicide letters. I know it sounds super crazy and I know it sounds super macabre. And I feel like everybody always has that moment where they feel so alone that no matter what, they feel like they're the only ones going through what they're going through at that moment, when we've all been in one position or another. And I feel that if I were to turn around and show the world that other people have actually suffered the same way, and to help spread suicide awareness, it could change the world.
That's amazing.
It absolutely.
That's amazing,
really
Kyle.
Amazing.
Because it's somebody like who also struggles with mental illness and depression, and I've had, really dark, traumatic times in my life. I think that maybe having something like that might have been able to make me realize that I wasn't in fact alone.
Yes. I am I'm a drug addict survivor. I am a sexual abuse survivor. I am a attempted suicide survivor, and putting all of that in and seeing it. And I felt so alone at times. So I was like, I've never seen something like that, to where people can relate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Wow. It is. And that's such an impactful.
As somebody who is a suicide and sexual abuse and drug addiction survivor, and with the state of our world right now, I believe that mental health is really important right now. And I think people are being affected mentally and emotionally. And I was just wondering if you had any advice for people listening who might struggle as well, and kind of how to cope through this time right now.
Oh, exactly. Lots and lots of alcohol. No, I'm just kidding.
I do that. I'm good at that.
Totally joking. I am a martini man here, but I am a minimal martini man here, like once every couple of days, things like that. Honestly,
I was like, oh wow, I could relate.
Honestly, it's to stay busy, with the arts and crafts and things like that, with the gardening and things like that. Step away from technology, get out, grab a fishing pole and go fishing, go walk your dog, ride a bike around your neighborhood, get out and actually experience the world for what it is. I mean, I remember, 10 or 15 years ago, parents would say, hey, come home when the lights are on, when the lights come on the street. Now, kids don't leave their house. Everybody is glued to technology. And though we live in a world of technology, the world is still spinning with us on it. So why not enjoy it when we're all stuck and isolated?
That is very wise and very valid.
Absolutely.
I think those are great points. So experience the world. Listen to Kyle.
And buy his book.
Kyle, where can everyone get your books?
Don't forget to have a martini.
Yes, and have a martini.
While reading his book.
Oh, that would be
and
epic.
Don't pass away in a recliner, for God's sake.
You guys, I was actually, it's funny because when I was getting ready to call in, I was listening to your first episode that had released May 30th, the episode with the cult, and I was like super deep into it. So thank you guys for interrupting. No, I'm so grateful that you guys have reached out, and I cannot wait to hear the rest of the other episode that I was listening to, this episode, and all of the other ones.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's so sweet. And Kyle, so tell us, what's your Instagram and where do we buy your book? So
my books are available on Amazon, and you can just type in Kyle R. Kunz in the search menu, and it'll pull up my books. And my IG is at Kyle R. Kunz 69. The 69. I mean, that's my lucky number, so we'll go with that.
Hey, you know what? It's a good number.
It is.
Mine too.
I think it's everyone here's lucky number.
Yeah, I agree. It's a lucky number for everybody. Play the lotto, 69.
That's right. Well, we've been talking to Kylekunz, and you can find Kyle also on YouTube. He works for spauldingdecon, but he's also an author. So check him out on YouTube, on Amazon, on Instagram. Follow him. Like his content. He's a really cool and amazing person, and we're so glad that he joined us today.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. You guys have a good day.
Thank you for listening to episode 2 of season 1 of Bizarre Buffet. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at Bizarre Buffet and subscribe on Apple, Google, Anchor, Spotify, whatever you listen to podcasts on. We'll see you soon.